If you're a musician that's stuck in Appleverse like I am, the idea of wireless earbuds that connect seamlessly to your iDevices and provide you with consistent sound, whether it's listening to music or mixing on the road, is very tempting. I've had my first generation AirPod Pros for roughly 18 months now, and during that time I've used them for listening to music, mixing on the road, recording a podcast, and also playing electronic drums live. In this video I will show you everything I've learned about these earbuds so you can make an informed decision on whether they're worth your money or not. And we're gonna start with 5 things I like and don't like about these things. But first, let's roll in the wow wow wow. Well, hello there, Vlad here. Welcome to my studio. Right away I have to mention this is not sponsored video or anything like that. I bought this with my own money quite a long time ago, 18 months or so. And I should also mention that my AirPod Pros are the first generation, but based on my research, they are very similar with some minor tweaks with the Gen 2. So this review should apply to both versions. The first thing that I like about these is the fact that they just sound good. Music sounds good on these, podcasts sound good on these, YouTube videos sound good on these, and I feel that these don't color the sound too much. I also like the noise cancellation feature. I think it works well, and when you pair that with good sounding earbuds, you're presenting with a good overall listening experience. The first thing that I don't like about this is, especially when you're moving, there can sometimes be these glitches where the left and the right earbud are out of sync, and it's very distracting, especially if you're listening to someone speak and then the sound kind of moves a little bit. It's really weird and annoying. Luckily it doesn't happen too often, and apparently with the second generation of these they have fixed that issue. Also, for whatever reason, Apple's own spatial audio just doesn't work with these. I've listened to many albums on spatial audio mode using these, and it just doesn't work. It sounds weird, it sounds phasey, and I haven't been able to figure out what's wrong with the whole thing. It just doesn't seem to work. The second thing that I like about these is that they're very light, they're comfortable to wear for extended periods of time, and especially with the second generation, they come with 4 different ear tips, so you can really kind of find the ones that make them fit really well in your ears. The second thing that I don't like about this is getting a heart attack anytime I drop one of these, and it's not helped by the fact that the capsule kind of likes to open up easily when it drops and kind of spits both of the earbuds into different directions. When that happens, it's really annoying. Apparently with the second generation of this unit, you can actually kind of beep the capsule. There's like a tiny speaker in the capsule, and you can trigger that remotely from your phone, for example. So that's cool. The first generation doesn't have that. I wouldn't also say that these are best for running because they kind of tend to fall out, especially if you get sweaty when you run, and good luck finding one of these if you drop them on like a hiking trail or something like that. The third thing that I like about this is the ease of connecting these to all the iDevices or Apple devices, that is. Basically I have a laptop, iPhone and Apple TV where I use this, and 95% of the time they connect exactly where I need to, and it's the Apple magic or whatever you want to call it, because it just works. But when these connect to the wrong device, it can sometimes be really infuriating trying to figure out how to find out which device these are actually connecting to, and then also figuring out how to disable that. For example, if this decides to connect to the Apple TV that's in my living room and I'm sitting there with my phone trying to listen to something on my phone, I basically need to go to Apple TV settings, disable the Bluetooth, and then these will be kind of released, and then I can connect them with my phone again. It doesn't happen too often, but when it does, it can be really annoying. The fourth thing that I love about this is the battery life. I'm getting 3 to 4 hours of playback time with these, and during that time I usually already have breaks, so if I place them in the capsule for the 5 minutes, I'm getting an extra hour again, because these have this kind of speed charging thing where you can get basically an hour of playback with just 5 minutes of charging, and yeah, hasn't really been an issue to me. And I should also mention that with the second generation, you're apparently getting even more battery lifetime, so 4 to 5 hours or so. The fourth thing that I don't like about this is the fact that sometimes they either don't charge or they're connected to a device without me knowing that they're connected to a device. So for example, let's say I use these for a while, I put them in a case and then I let them stay overnight. Then the next morning I'm commuting on a bus, for example, I put this on, and for whatever reason both or sometimes just one of the earbuds is completely out of battery for no apparent reason. I don't know if there's some sort of issue with the connection between the case and the earbud, or they are just randomly connected to some of the devices even though they're in the capsule. Not sure. This is something that has happened a few times over the past 18 months. I haven't been able to pinpoint what might be causing it, and I wouldn't call it a major issue, but it is still annoying when that happens. The fifth thing that I like about this is the ability to control the playback and also the noise cancellation just by clicking the earbuds over here. I also like the fact that there's built-in microphone in these and you can answer calls or do Zoom meetings, for example, with this. And with the second generation of these earbuds, you can actually control the playback volume from the earbuds as well. The fifth thing that I don't like about this is the fact that the microphone in this sounds bad in any situation. Zoom calls, phone calls, the audio quality is just really bad. I've had a lot of feedback from people when using these to answer phone calls. For example, they're asking, why are you holding a phone so far or something like that. It just sounds bad, and if you watch any like news where they call someone and they clearly use their AirPods for those calls, it just sounds bad and kind of digital and artificial and all of that. I don't like them. The microphone on the first generation ones at least is bad. Not sure about the second generation. But let's talk about this from a musician perspective, and let's talk about listening to music with these. As I mentioned already, I think music sounds great with these. The overall sound is pretty balanced, and I think there's a decent amount of low end with this as well. There's a decent amount of detail so you can tell what's happening in the mix, but they're obviously nowhere near, let's say, the Shure SE315s I use for in-ear monitoring when playing live, but I would still say they're leaps and bounds better than all the basic earbuds you can buy. I wouldn't say these are as immersive as, big headphones, for example. And even with noise cancellation, these are letting in a little bit of outside world noises. It's just a safety thing, like if you're walking or running outside, you'll hear the approaching car. So that's something that you can disable. And that might be an issue if you're trying to mix in a noisy environment, for example. But overall, I would say music sounds good and balanced with these. When it comes to podcasting, I've liked this a lot because they, again, give a good representation of how the other people's voice on the podcast sound. Obviously, we're doing our podcast over an online platform, which is different to how a lot of other people do, meaning that they're in the same room. And because I'm not using a setup here where I kind of loop back my voice into my headphones, which affects how you speak and things like that, I like to set these on a transparent mode, and it kind of helps me to speak normally so I don't wear out my voice in the first 30 minutes by, for example, speaking too loudly and wearing my voice out, because usually we do an hour, maybe sometimes it's a 2-hour long show, and you want your voice to last through the whole thing. And setting these on a transparent mode helps with that a lot. And obviously I have to mention that if I would record podcasts with other people in the same room, I would have a different setup, but for what we're doing with our show, these work really well. When it comes to mixing with these, I like them. That's all I can say. I usually don't want to do final mixes on my headphones. I want to use my studio monitors because I know them really, really well. I have had them for a decade. I know how they sound. But there are situations where you have to do a quick mix with your earbuds, and I feel these work very decently. My workflow with these usually is that I do a rough mix with these, I'll do all the EQ and everything like that with these, and then I actually use my laptop speakers to check the overall mix, because you get the kind of room ambience and stuff like that as well, and then you can kind of hear how everything sounds. Doing it like that back and forth actually gives me a pretty great results if I'm in a situation where I need to mix something and I'm not able to use my studio. I also wanted to share one other use case where I love this a lot, and that was playing eardrums at the church. Our church doesn't have like in-ear monitoring system. We have the floor wedges, and what I would have is my electronic drum kit in front of me. On the left side, I would have a standard like monitor wedge, which points to my ear, and then to the right ear, I would place one of these AirPods and then trigger a metronome from my phone. I would have a set list here, program and everything like that, and I would basically get the click into my right ear. I would hear everything that's happening around me through my left ear, and it was fun to play because you don't get any wires or anything like that here. And as I mentioned, the battery lasts for 4 to 5 hours or so, so I could get through the whole set without having to worry about battery running out from the earphones and like that. So until we actually set up some sort of in-ear monitoring system at our church and have a click for the drum and maybe the whole band at some point. This setup works really well. And also like that you can turn on the noise cancellation in one of these so you don't have to run this as loud and you can still hear the kick, so it kind of saves my hearing a little bit. So if you're a musician, should you get AirPod Pros? I'm gonna say yes if you need such things, so to speak. I think music sounds great with them. I think once you get used to this, you can create very decent mixes with these as well. And I really enjoy the freedom that these provide, because you can move around, you don't have to worry about cables and like that. That's really cool. When these work, meaning that they connect to the device you're supposed to connect them to, or you're trying to connect them to, it's kind of magical, if you will, to quote Apple, I guess. And that's really fun. When it doesn't work, it can be really infuriating trying to figure out what's going on. The battery life is good. I've never felt that these run out of battery too quickly. And as I mentioned, if your earbuds run out of battery, but your case is still charged, you get an hour of playback with just 5 minutes of charging. So that's really nice as well. And this being wireless, it allows you to do cool setups like I was doing with the eardrums, for example. I'm actually interested to hear what other alternatives there are on the market, so let me know in the comment section down below. And if you got any questions about these, let me know in the comment section. There are also ways to support what I do in the description, and there are links to other videos I've done here on the channel as well. And be sure to click the subscribe button and like button, just hit all the buttons on the screen and good things will happen. Thank you so much for watching. I shall see you next time.